a question about you're a successful guy. One of the talking points that comes out of the modern feminist movement is that men, even if successful, are intimidated by successful women. And the talking point there is that men are afraid or intimidated by women who make good money, who run their own business, who are financially stable. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Most certainly, there's definitely some truth to that. And it comes from two things. It comes from the male ego, feeling as if he is inadequate, if he's not making as much or more than his female counterpart. But like I said, that's the male ego. But then the other aspect of it is you will have those women that are in those positions that will make men feel bad if they're not living up to what they're doing, what their standard is, what their expectations are. So you kind of got to look at it from both lenses. You got to look at it from how the men view it and how the women treat it.
See, I think something happens that is a little bit different from intimidation in those dynamics. And I know this has been controversial for me to say this, surprising, something I said was controversial. Who knew? But, I think that oftentimes these women who, and I've been in those corporate settings, so I know what that looks like, those high powered, settings, they can be very challenging, very stressful. They can kind of sap the life out of you in many respects when you are, making money and you are conscious of that and you're prioritizing that. That's a stressful environment. So I think that a lot of guys watch their women kind of change in those realities, and they kind of lose some of that softness and lose some of that femininity and lose some of the things that they love about women when women enter those spaces, because you can't help but be hardened by the grind of those experiences. So I think it's like less about, for me, I feel like the guys I talk to, it's less about intimidated and more like, I value those things about you that you're losing when you go into these high powered settings. And then you come home at night afterward and you're upset, you're stressed, you don't have the work-life balance you want, you're not present in the house with the same beautiful energy that you were before. And that's just something they're sometimes afraid to vocalize as guys.
Right. And that goes back to what I was saying about how the women are treating those positions that they're in. It's the same thing, because if the woman isn't, putting all this unnecessary pressure on the man because of the role that she now plays, then the man wouldn't feel as though maybe he's inadequate, or maybe he's not living up to what it is that she's expecting from him. And then that way he'll feel a bit more comfortable, because I got male friends that their wives make significantly much more than they do, and there's no problem. It doesn't bother them at all. The guys, they cook for the woman when she comes home. They cooking for the kids. It's not an issue, but he still earns his. You know what I'm saying? And as long as there is that degree of knowing self and knowing what position you're in and what role you play and what you have to offer to the relationship or the family, as long as everybody's doing their part, then it shouldn't really be much of an issue. I mean, we just live in those times where, women are out earning men, and it's only going to continue on that trend. When you look at, what they're saying about college attendees over the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be more women in college than there will be men. So it's only going to continue on that trend of women earning more than the male counterpart.
Yeah. And that's true, and I'm fully supportive of this is a freedom loving show. So it's like, build the life you want, live the life you want, find the partner you want, create the relationship dynamic that works for you. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do on that point, for sure. I do think that it is a concern, though, and this is just like looking at it objectively and factually, that if women start losing some of those traits that men really value, and it's just a reality. You don't have to like that reality, but men appreciate femininity in a woman. Men appreciate a woman who's going to let that guy be the head of household. Men appreciate, being, oftentimes the person who mans that financial ship. That's just a reality. Not every household, but there are a lot that run like that. And I'm just wondering what's going to happen in a dynamic where you do have women increasingly more educated, making more money. Does that make the union of man and woman harder? I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe it'll be a cultural shift. I don't know. But I definitely see a shift here in terms of like men and women and the roles that they're playing in society and playing in house.